A 2016 study showed that one-fifth of adults felt the furthest that they could run without stopping was 100 meters. And according to a 2020 survey, the average person could only run a fifth of a mile without having to stop. And most people hadn't run a mile in over a decade. I'm 36, and I spend most of my day sitting behind a desk looking at computer screens. Cardio hasn't really been my thing. I mean, why run when you can walk, am I right? But after watching my wife run in several races, I had to admit, it actually looked kind of fun. As you can see, I don't have the body of a runner.
I like 'em big. I like 'em chunky. I like 'em big.
But this is where my story starts.
Here we go.
Well, guys, I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm pretty proud of myself. 30 days ago, it took everything I had to run a 12-minute mile. And 30 days later, today, I ran almost a 7-minute mile, a 5-mile improvement. Now, I tell you what, on day one, it took everything I had to finish that mile. My body wanted to tell me to stop. My mind kept telling me to stop, but I just kept pushing through. And even though it was a slow mile, in my mind, it proved to myself that I could do this and I was capable of running a mile, and that means I was capable of improving a mile. Now, I've never been a distance guy. I've always been more short bursts, so I knew I wasn't going to put up anything spectacular. But when I played soccer in high school, we always had to run the mile before practice, and I typically would get around 6 minutes and 45 seconds. So almost 20 years later and 50 pounds heavier, I'm getting pretty close to that. That was such a great improvement for me, and I was so happy to see that I was able to get that goal. Now, one thing I learned through all of this is running really is a mental game. Your mind will try to tell you to stop all the time. I know mine did, and every time I ran, it told me that it wanted me to stop, but I just had to ignore it, and I had to keep going. And, you know, I dealt through several injuries through this 30 days. I got shin splints around halfway through it, and then my knees started hurting, and then my feet started hurting. Once you get one injury, it seems like you kind of get another and they compound in each other. And if you're going to run, it's just something that I think you're going to have to deal with. I know my wife, she's a really good runner, and it's something that she deals with too. You just get injuries, you have to push it, and you just kind of have to shut your mind off to it. A big question I know you probably have is, did I lose any weight doing this challenge? And no, I really didn't lose any weight. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that I like to walk a lot. And when I was dealing with these injuries, I wanted to try to rest so I could improve my time the next day. So I wasn't walking as much as I normally did. So I probably really wasn't as active as what I normally was. But I tell you what, that's really not a big deal to me. Some people put a lot of emphasis on how much they weigh. I put a lot of emphasis on how I feel, and I feel really healthy. I feel really good about what I've done. I'm really happy with myself. But I guess it just proves the old saying true. You can't outrun a bad diet. I know my mouth's probably pretty fit, and it could probably eat a lot more than my body's capable of running. So going into this, my whole goal was to see if I'd be able to run a 5K race without stopping. And I have to tell you, I did attempt it after this challenge. And while my time was not great, I did get it. And I know this can also be improved upon just like I did my mile. And one final thing before I let you go, this is something that I don't normally ever ask. But if you've ever watched any of my videos, if you've enjoyed them, and you've not subscribed, would you please consider subscribing? Anyway, that's all I have for you in this one. I'll see you in the next one.